Yeah. Take the hard top off, soft top off.
Yeah, because I was gonna say just my stuff. They're nice and they got a nice fit.
Go with my own cabin and pop it in.
I'd like to call to order the Village of Middleville Village Council meeting for March 24th. Rhonda, could I please have roll call?
Kevin Smith,
Here.
Stephen Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop, Patrick Hilton,
Here.
John Osterbaum,
Here.
Susan Shannon, Sandra Wake, here.
I would like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Bishop.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well. Moving on to approval of the agenda, which has been amended, by the way. But I believe everyone has the amended agenda in front of them.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support, is that?
Motion and support, yeah, absolutely. We have a motion to approve the agenda as printed. Actually, I guess amended, because it's amended. We are adding reserve time of 5 minutes for Mr. Bird with Alan Edwin. We are removing ordinances and resolutions. Item 9B, resolution 26-02, and adding new business item 12A, which is a committee appointment. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Mr. President, there. There's the consent agenda.
You are making a motion to approve? I'm sorry.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Support for that? I'll support. All right. We have a motion with support, approval of the minutes of the special council meeting as of March 9th, 2026. Approval of minutes for the regular meeting of March 10th, 2026. Approval of bills as of March 13th, 2026 for $68,358.19.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Susan Shannon,
Yes. Aye.
Stephen Baldry,
Aye.
Sandra Wake, aye. John Osterbaum,
Aye.
Robert Bishop, Patrick Hilton,
Aye.
Kevin Smith,
Aye. All right, motion carries. Moving on to public comment. We have a limit of 3 minutes per speaker in effect. Any persons attending may comment on any subject. Please state your name and direct your comments to the chair. The Village of Middleville rules of procedure prohibit Village Council from debating or discussing issues with the public at this time. Hearing none. Moving on to reserve time. Brandon, welcome.
Good evening, it's nice to be here. All right, jump right in here to the Paul Henry Trail Bridges. Tanya will be talking to you a little bit later if needed. We're still tied up in tribal review. I got so excited when I saw an email that the Chief Noonday chapter of the local trail association was supporting this project, but they're not affiliated with any local tribes in the area, as Catherine pointed out to me. Kind of showed my behind there, but we're still waiting for tribal approval on the MDOT portion of that, which is a larger portion. And we are reapplying for the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant. It was a simple matter of just kind of upload the same stuff. We haven't changed the project a bit. So we're guardedly optimistic we'll get tribal approval, we'll get the grant approval, which we won't know about that till about September or so. Ish,
For the grant for 2026 for the
Yeah.
DNR,
yes.
won't be till December, but
Yeah, so already got that, so. The railroad in Main Street, B&L is scheduled to start the work on July 15th. Irving Road, we're down to running some conduits for controls and fixing the road back up to the water tank. So when the frost laws are lifted, they'll be getting back to work on that. And any restoration that needs to be done there by the water tower or on Irving Phase 1, which I don't believe there will be, that looked really good last year. But it's not until about April 15th where we can really put some seed down and be comfortable that it's not gonna be killed by frost. Mid-Villa, the station's now up and running, so I'll talk to JD if there's any problems with that. I didn't witness an official startup of that station, but that seems to be going okay. The wastewater treatment plant, there is an issue with the tank, so I talked to George today. He is not planning on hauling sludge out of here until the fall, which is good because it costs, 10 cents a gallon or 12 cents a gallon. So he's able to wait until the fall. Once the tank is drained, we'll be able to get in there and just apply almost like a bridge waterproofing on those interior corners. The water supply expansion, the test well approval letter has been received. So we are going to pursue kind of a purchase order, give 3 well drillers an opportunity to bid on this work, which would be Peerless, Raymer, and Northern. So that should satisfy requirements and provide a good, good price for drilling this test well, which will then be a production well. The DPW building addition, I'm recommending we work with Concept Design Studio, and I'm going to arrange a meeting with JD and with Craig and anyone else, Rob maybe, about what we should expect for a cost. For this expansion, it's going to be more than just the last one we did, where there was nothing in it, right? I mean, so want to make sure, before we dip more than a toe in, get some better information. It could cost upwards of $600,000 is the architect's estimate. So, wow. So
It's a lot bigger than that.
yeah, right. So we'll see if it goes anywhere or just gets delayed while more funds are secured or something. So, but we reached out to 2 AMEP contractors, and the Concept Design was way cheaper than Century actually. So if we do, we're going to work with them.
Are we giving anything up they were like kind in terms of their commitments?
Oh yeah, we're not giving up anything. I think maybe it's a function of Century, who we normally work with, just being really busy.
Yeah.
And Concept is a little bit of a smaller firm, maybe a little hungrier. They're out in Muskegon. We worked with them on a couple projects here in the recent years. So I thought, when I saw Century's price of $100,000, I was like, this is crazy. So I asked Century Concept Design, and they came in at $30,000.
No, wow.
So that was which they estimated was 5% of the anticipated building cost with $600,000. So it seemed more in line with what professional fees should be for that project. And then our office would just do the site plan. We've already done some structural and stuff like that. We don't have that much into it and want to have that much more. And then we did the site, that's Main Street streetscape planning. I believe Malia has sent that plan to Doug last week. So any questions about that, Doug can reach out, or anyone can reach out to Malia from our office about that. And then we completed a site plan review for Kellogg Crossing, but we haven't seen anything as far as the permits go. So I know those are typically, those have to be input online. So usually we get those from the developer or wherever and upload those. So we'll just be on the lookout for those. Any questions?
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Ms. Getty, welcome.
Glad to
Welcome
be
to our
here.
village.
Of course. So, little update from the county. We heard an annual report from Rachel France, who's our recycling coordinator. We have an appointment there that is also vacant from the village. We didn't talk about that with we spoke the other day, but that's something just to make a note of, that we have a vacancy from council resignation. Household hazardous waste day has been set for May 2nd. We were waiting on some bids, so we put out an RFP for the hauler for the hazardous waste pickup. That is our biggest expense, and so we put that out to RFP this year, and we're waiting back on those. We just got those back on Friday and set the date for May 2nd. We do very much encourage people to make appointments. We did that in the fall, and it really alleviated the backup all the way at the fairgrounds, all the way out to M37. So if we can stagger people's arrival by having the reservation dates, that helps a ton. So the more you can share that here in the village with your residents, the better. We heard some management planning, emergency management planning from Patrick Jensen's. We approved a grant from Eagle for the scrap tire collection at the household and hazardous waste. Approved some special assessment district boundaries on Pine Lake and established a Podunk Lake special lake assessment. There hadn't been one there, and the drain commissioner was maintaining a dam, but there was no mechanism to share that maintenance with the people who benefit from said dam. So we set that up earlier in March. And then today, we had a meeting this morning, and we adopted a resolution to accept a passport grant. That's a DNR passport grant for a new boat launch and improvements out of Charlton Park. So it'll be a fully accessible launch, trailer parking, boat wash station. So we'll get started on that planning probably for 2027 construction season. We approved the purchase of 3 new Tahoes for our sheriff department. These are regularly scheduled replacement vehicles. Came in a little bit under what we had budgeted for the year, so that was good, but close to $230,000. What else we appointed your very own Doug Powers reappointed him to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. And we heard an appeal for a FOIA request, actually 5 appeals. So that was a lengthy process. We did vote to deny the appeal and expect that to be litigated.
Hazardous waste appointments, are they in are you allotting like X amount of time? So like, are they in like 15-minute increments, or like, how does this
Yes,
work?
so when you log on, I think she has a sign up Genius set up so that you can sign up. Might be a Google form. You can sign up for the appointment time, and then it'll generate a reminder so that folks are reminded, when their appointment time is. It really works so much better in the fall than it has been in the past, and I think people appreciate not being in that long line for 45 minutes or an hour because they came at the most popular time.
Yeah, I would assume it blinks out like when the.
Yes,
slots
right,
are
so
open.
you sign up for a time slot.
What if they don't sign up? You can't go?
No, we still let people in. We had, I think it'll be kind of a learning curve as people begin to recognize that they're supposed to sign up. So we did let people come through. You just do the best you can. So there were times that people were still waiting in line with people who didn't sign up. Might have heard some grumbling about that. Any other questions?
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Bird.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for for having us again. I appreciate your time. My name is Greg Bird. I'm the program manager for workforce housing for Allen Edwin Homes. I also have my colleague Jared with Michigan Growth Advisors here this evening. There are consultants with these tax increment financing projects. I want to be mindful of everybody's time because I know we've been here before to present the project, but I know also we have 3 new members. So first of all, congratulations to the 3 new members. As a side note, I serve on my local school board, so I appreciate everybody in local public service and the jobs that they do. So thank you for that. What we're talking about here is building 25 new residential units directly across from the high school along Bender Road. I think it's about just over 11 acres. And so with those 25 new units, 4 of them would be, there's several terms, whether they are called income restricted, missing middle, workforce housing, and those would be for rent. And we have a build schedule of about 3 years for all of those units in total. And I brought a packet along that you have before you that has some letters of support from the county chambers. And Jennifer, thank you for being here. Bradford White and the superintendent of schools. But it's kind of the last page in that packet I really wanted to draw your attention to because we've had a couple of listening sessions as those members have heard us before. And one of the things that we heard through that session was, well, folks in the neighborhood you see there, they have to walk all the way around to get to the school. And so what we've added to this proposal is a walking trail from the neighborhood that kind of hooks up to this neighborhood that we're proposing to build in. And that gives all of those families a much easier walk to the school. So we will, that's something that we will do on our end to help that along. Again, I don't want to spend a ton of time. I want to get any questions answered. Again, Jared's here to talk about some of I know, Sue, you had a question about one of the tables that you had, and I think Jared's the person to answer that. But any other questions, any members of the village have, we're happy to answer.
Just as a refresher, because I know that half of this board is brand new. Tax incremental financing is they delay tax collection on a particular project. Obviously, if it's a cornfield, it's worth X amount of dollars for tax. When buildings are added to that, then it is added to our tax roll. It supports things like road construction, water, and sewer. By delaying that tax, we are no longer collecting those taxes on that property, the increase in value. As I've read this particular proposal, it looks like the village taxpayers would be on the hook for funding the road, water, and sewer in the amount that is basically being requested over the course of 20 years or 15 years or whatever. So in many ways, 4 rental units hitting the missing middle rent versus the 25, is that 25 homes that you would be going?
25 total.
Yes, in a 3-year period. Is attractive in the sense that we are getting 25 new homes, but there's a significant expense to the village taxpayers for shouldering the expense of putting in infrastructure, which is pretty much how this aligns. Misty Ridge was built in full without any of that type of program. The townhomes that are next to the Exxon Mobil station were built without that program. Rolling Oaks Collective, which was a huge push as well, were all built without that program. This would be the first of its kind in our community. The true missing middle income folks were really, really well served with the apartment complex that went in, which made a lot of sense because the rent is about a third of what these houses would be, which really truly does hit workforce housing, targets and so on and so forth. My humble opinion is that you can certainly apply for any program in the world, and thank goodness that you do, because they're there for you to sign up for. It is incumbent upon us, and the decision that you would be making at a later date would be to decide whether or not you agree with the village funding the infrastructure that goes in there to build these 25 homes, and then delay the tax collection as those properties obviously increase in value dramatically, to delay the tax collection on those for a couple of decades, while they are still using water, sewer, and the roads, obviously. That would graciously have been constructed in to code at this point, which is a big deal. So today was really was meant for you to be introduced to this. This is really good information. Clearly, Bradford White supports it. Superintendent, I don't know. Bradford White certainly is who we aim to serve for the missing middle, for that workforce housing, albeit maybe only 3 or 4 homes would actually check that checkbox. We do have other opportunities in this community to serve the missing middle through other projects that we would like to grant TIF for. So as you're contemplating this in the coming weeks, it would serve all of us to really understand what tax incremental financing is, and also the impact of when they're asking for that.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Okay, so we're saying we're foregoing for 30 years.
20.
30, I thought.
Yeah, so the current plan that we have drafted, 25 years would be reimbursed to us. The last remaining 5 years is reimbursed to the county's brownfield authority. And that's within the statute that has that. And President Smith, thank you for addressing. I should have, in my overview, talked high level about the TIF, but you're absolutely right. What happens is that 11.2 acres, you're getting a certain amount of revenue from that property currently. You will continue to get that stream of revenue for that 30 years. What happens in the 2023 law change to the brownfield that allowed for housing as an eligible activity is the developer, because we put all of our capital up front to help build the neighborhood. And so we are allowed to be reimbursed for the increase in property value for that period of time. And it really reimburses us for 3 things. One is site prep. The second would be infrastructure costs. And the third would be the affordability component that I think President Smith talked about. So just high level, and obviously Jared can answer really in the details, but that's kind of an overview of that. And we have been, since that law change in 2023, we probably are working on 40 plus projects all across the state now. And I should have mentioned that we're a home builder based out of Portage, been in business over 30 years, and family owned business. And so the largest home builder now in the state, we'll probably in the next year build over 1,200 homes. So
is that how the village finances the infrastructure, through foregoing the property taxes, or this is in addition?
We aren't financing it. We're paying for the infrastructure, and then
Right up front.
and then over time, and the loss of tax. So it's not, and a lot of people get this wrong, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we're way over 5 minutes, but it is, it's delayed. So we wouldn't even really realize any revenue from that site. I thought it was only 22, but I guess I need to read more. We are delaying the tax collection at value for 30 years. So, and not certainly in my lifetime would we see that anything from that site hit our tax roll.
But we would live the burden of
Exactly.
all of that,
Yeah,
right?
we would be paying, collectively as a community, we would still be paying for the water, sewer, and so on and so forth. So it is an interesting, it's meant and designed to attract developers where if, for instance, they were coming here and not building single-family homes for $400,000, but maybe a multifamily unit that was attracting 150 people that can pay $1,800 a month in rent. In that particular case, that actually adds a number of homes for people who can call Middleville home and go work at Bradford White or work at the school across the street or, in the community. So you are spot on. It isn't at an expense. And I think that really the question really isn't whether or not we believe in Allen Edward. I mean, they've built a jillion homes in Middleville, but it's more so that they have this program available to them. So of course they're going to apply for it because it saves money. But I think that the bigger question would be to what end, and is it really the right project for us? Because frankly, do we need 25 new homes in the community? I think there's a huge enough demand where we could use them. Is it worth us financing the infrastructure for that over the course of many years and not being able to add these homes collectively at a meaningful tax roll rate to help pay for when those sewers go back or the road needs to be chip sealed, because it will need in the next 30 years need to be chip sealed, and who's going to help pay for that? So something to contemplate, and I certainly don't want to sway your decision simply based on what you're hearing tonight. I really do believe that you need to understand the benefits of tax incremental financing, and I do believe it's a great program when properly placed and really hitting the right numbers. The question here is this hitting the right number? And I love the path to that. That was a good ad. I appreciate that. And something that can be contemplated as well, because that's meaningful as well. But that path can be built at any time, depending on, whatever, same sidewalks. I mean, those are all things that we could work together to make those things happen. So, but I appreciate you staying around, and I'm sorry that I took you off the agenda tonight, but it's worth seeing you, and I have a lot of faith that we'll work through these things, and I believe it's certainly with the right company. So I appreciate you making your way up here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
Is this something that you're making a decision if this isn't available to you, that you're not going to develop that land? Is this a make or break that you see right now?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking. The numbers, if we are not, if we do not receive the tax increment financing, the numbers make it very difficult for us to be able to do this. I would just add that over the past 5 to 7 years, costs for us to build homes have gone up about 5% every year, and it's mostly material.
Yeah.
So without this, it makes it very difficult to make it happen. And that's why I think that this is such in many communities, this is a law, or the law change makes sense. So, but I'm biased, so.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just a couple numbers for that. The infrastructure and site preparation costs are about $85,000 per unit, just to build the roads, stormwater, water, sewer, et cetera. And when you get up to that number, it becomes really hard to build homes and then sell them at a price that the market would absorb. So then the question becomes, okay, do we build, over 20 years at higher prices, or do we not build at all? And I don't know if that's a decision that Allen Edward has made yet on this project, but again, in the interest of time, I'm happy to. Doug has my email and phone number, so to the extent there are any questions, I believe you probably have a big packet of documents that I'm happy to walk through if you would like. The one other piece on tax financing that I would like to mention is it's a capture of all millages, not just the villages. operating millage. So the state taxes, for example, account for about 38% of what's captured. So in lieu of those taxes going to every other taxing jurisdiction, really they're retained in building infrastructure here. So, you know, if village operating is about 16, 17% of what's is assessed on the property, the other taxing authorities are what are shouldering the rest of that burden. So again, I'll stop. Thank you again for having us and letting us chat, but let me know if there are questions.
Appreciate that. And Doug has my contact information too. So either one of us, if you need, we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time, of course.
All right, moving on to petitions and communications here. So first up, we have the Brian Pell Memorial Bike Rodeo, Mr. Powers.
Good evening, council. Before you, we have the permit, for the request to have the Brian Powell Bike Memorial, that we've discussed on multiple locations, leaning more towards the pavilion, rather than the green space over there, but still in the planning phases. Certainly, is there any questions related to this? And, you know, items you'd like me to go over in more detail? For any of you that are familiar, this petition is utilizing public space, so we submit all these to the village council for approval for any type of outdoor activities. Hence the multiple petitions you see before you tonight.
I mean, it's really
Rubber stamp.
rubber stamping,
Yeah,
so I guess just need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Brian Pell Memorial.
I'll second that.
Motion with support, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Riverbank Music Series.
Absolutely. So music series, this year, we're looking at doing this Thursday nights. The time is gonna be a little bit more abridged, based on the feedback we received and recommendations that the time we had allocated towards bands, may have been challenging for some of the, places to be able to fill that time frame. And we also noticed dwindling numbers, on numerous nights towards the end, because it was a little late for some of the demographics that were attending. Other than that, it's fairly similar, that looking at doing this at the amphitheater, understanding that, you know, part of the series that will need to be strategic with the railroad reconstruction. So there may be some hindrance with ADA access at that time, but we'll work through this one.
I have a question on the police made a note on the application.
So they had made a note when we were talking about location across back here, the gazebo, for anyone that's aware, that's where we used to have the music series, where we were originally talking about possibly doing it there. As in the past, there had been, you know, some issues with possible nuisances, but we are suggesting going back to the amphitheater, as now we're noting that the railroad reconstruction is going to be a little later in the season, so it wouldn't affect the entire season.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Riverbank Music Series as application. Support.
I think John won. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. And just to be clear about the signage, right? So, I mean, we are, as the village, are entitled to put signs out and advertise this. So as we start to spin this up, I know that we've been discussing
Absolutely.
signage, and noticed that it was in the application here as well. So just, I think wayfinding is gonna be a big deal when this construction thing comes up. I would be in support of, and we could further discuss this as a board, but I think I would be certainly in favor of adding more signage to make sure that people are getting where they need to go.
Absolutely, and that's on this application for that reason, is because you are the body that is approving of what types are asking questions, comments, concerns related to signage.
All right, moving on to farmer's market.
So, market on Main, it's similar to like music series, we're looking at moving to Thursdays for numerous reasons. That the timing has a slight overlap with the, music series, primarily because we've seen, benefit with, individuals going to the market in relation to the music venue. We're looking at some additional changes with signage and so forth, but some of them are still a little preliminary, so I don't want to make any false promises until I know if they're supposed to be fine.
All right. I'll make a motion, we approve farmer's market as petition. As written.
I win.
You bet. Motion with support. Any further discussion?
Doug, is the social district gonna be approved by one of this stuff?
I'm sorry, can you repeat? The social district?
Yeah.
So the social district has been adopted, being that we've had the transition in our adult beverage facilities. Had delayed procuring signs for Public Works to be able to install, but we certainly intend to have this up for the event season, or at least close to it.
What's the change you're talking about?
So that Champs is no longer open.
Okay.
Yeah, so we currently only have one bar in our district, and we need to have two at a minimum. So.
I mean, my only concern about Thursdays versus Fridays is that the overlap was really good when you have a lot of people coming down to see the music series. I am concerned that the inertia that we could potentially be building and gathering on Friday nights with the farmer's market. The big concern is always vendors, but also customers making it worth the vendors' while to be here. Do we have A/B data to suggest that Thursdays would be a home run versus Fridays when there's already people down here?
So besides, we have engaged with other individuals who have a lot more, experience with, the neighboring demographics. One of the items was.
Here in Middleville?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've been engaging with Dornap Arts Council. Megan LaBelle's been instrumental in helping us with, coordinating a lot of this. But a lot of it was besides the competition from neighboring communities and that the budget isn't quite as exorbitant as, some of those communities, so it's hard to compete. That we noted that a lot of the participant numbers we've seen weren't necessarily warranted of like a Friday night activity. So if we're trying to find, the right numbers along with our budget, that Thursday seemed to be, a better indication of, where our focus should be in, likely having a successful event. Now, that's just for, the market as well as the music series. Nothing to do with any other events. Those are all, different days for other reasons.
So did you just say that Thursday had better data and metrics than
It
Friday?
looks like that, the numbers we were getting from our previous participants last year, didn't indicate like a successful turnout, that we were
On
losing
Friday.
people to other communities and that we're likely to get better results from having it on Thursdays.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. If we were to have a larger budget, then it would be a different story.
All right, well, we have a motion with support. We've discussed, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Heritage Days.
So Heritage Days, that there was a lot of discussion about when to have Heritage Days. And we came to this date based on availability of volunteers along with opportunities for other, car shows and competition, trying to make it as where we can, don't have as many activities going on at the same time. That the plan for this was that this year, determining and seeing what our level of participation was in the July timeframe, and that if this is successful, possibly coming to the council and seeing if there could be a resolution to adopt the second Saturday of July as Heritage Days in perpetuity, because I'm sure many of you know Heritage Days is kind of bounced around. And that if we do have a set date every year, that will make it a lot easier for people to be able to mark on their calendars and keep track of. Last year, we had a little over 500 people, I would say, in attendance, and that was with bad weather. That I'm very grateful that car enthusiasts came, because I was nervous, being that it was raining shortly before that event, and did not know how many of them would show.
Well, I was nervous because I was at the dunk tank, so, and it was like 4.
But this,
July sounds great.
and the other positive note that I add to this too is that this is before the Railroad Street project starts. So with this, would suggest similar to last year, closing this block of Main Street between Railroad and High Street, and having activities there as well. That when this was originally proposed, we were not certain on the start date, but ideally having it coming from, this area that you see before you, including that with the street, so we can better engage businesses through the social district and other activities.
Need a motion to approve Heritage Day.
Make a motion, we approve Heritage Days petitions.
A second.
Very eager, I love this. All right, any further discussion regarding the permit?
I have a question. Are we going to have a parade?
So I don't have, a clear answer for you for that, because that's something that the Lions Club has traditionally done. And we've, they have came to the events, but we haven't gotten a firm response for that. So that's something that it would have to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we may want to, confer with Ms. Van Polen, that believe that may require a separate permit if, there was going to be a parade. And those would have to be in 60 days at a minimum before the
It's
event.
supposed to be 60. I would suppose that if someone from the committee we have opted to do the parade, we could amend this one as well. I don't know if it has to be Lions, but typically the parades are done by Lions Club of Rotary.
And just my opinion, from the feedback I got, was that people could not believe there was no Heritage Day parade. So we obviously we didn't hit the bullseye on that last year. So,
Yeah, I'll definitely bring that back to the committee and try reaching out with the Lions too, because last I knew they didn't have any scheduled meetings. I would ask them if they're meeting.
and if they need a liaison or whatever, I mean, I'm happy to be, like, if that needs a push, I would be happy to lead that effort. Absolutely, because I think that was a big missing link last year. And I'm really great at delegating. All right, we have a motion with support. Any other further discussion for the vote? All right. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I got you. That is basically just a resolution that we do every year, to make sure that we're not, through the village process. I know the DDA sometimes will charge for those food trucks and stuff, but we don't do it through our office. So it's basically saying that we exempt those peddler fees for all of those events that are there and anything else that might get added that's done through DDA.
It's like $10 per vendor, so it's.
Yeah, it doesn't even really,
It's really an
we don't even get the money it takes us to do them. So.
Make a motion to support.
All right, well, we have a motion to approve resolution 2601, exempt for peddlers during specific Middleville events. Do I have a second? You have a second, all right. Any further discussion?
I'm just curious, I've been on here a while. Is there any time we charge them, or should we just take it out, should we just take it out of the resolution?
It's a rare.
No, there, if anybody comes in and does like door to door or something like that, we do them for those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the only reason we've started the pilot process of not, a lot of those, events are now asking us not to charge is because for a peddler requires $1 million insurance policy too. And that policy we already have through the people who are doing the events. So it would literally be us doing all those $10 permits for 20, 30 vendors like for Lauren does. It's, yeah, and all of them having to have $1 million insurance policy. But if you're gonna go door to door or anything like that, any of the food trucks that are in here, like if the bank does a food truck, you know, we charge them, we do that. So, yeah.
So how do we choose who like which food truck or which peddler or which vendor gets to go out there? If there's no permitting process, somebody's gotta manage that, right?
Typically selected and put in place as part of the event. So like if the DDA is leading the event doing those food trucks, it'd be a lot like the bands for the Riverbank Music Series. Pre-selected, the homework is done up front, and then they just are put in place,
So we don't have a part in that, so we hand that off to whoever's gonna.
Yes
run
and
the
no.
event.
So through the DDA, we don't, but those other events, we are still doing peddler permits on the food trucks.
Yep.
So, and we make sure that they have a valid, license from the health department and a transit license and all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
so there's a
Yeah.
permit, we're just not charging them for it.
No, sorry, there's two different things going on.
Okay,
here.
it's a peddler
So,
fee. is what it is.
But
Got
we exempted everyone but food trucks. I think that's where our confusion is right now. Those other couple events that we approved a couple weeks ago, we exempted all but the food trucks.
Right.
We are still doing peddlers permits for those food trucks.
Got it.
We're just not if they have like somebody over there selling bracelets,
That makes me,
Yeah.
yeah.
that
got
kind
it.
of thing.
It's a good question. All right, we have a motion with support. Any other further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
You need a roll call.
Oh, that's right.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
Yeah, you need a roll call.
I'm sorry, Rhonda, could you please do a roll call?
You're good. John Osterban,
Yes, aye.
Susan Shannon.
Aye.
Stephen Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop, Patrick Hilton,
Aye.
Sandra Wake, Kevin Smith.
All right, moving on to resolution 2603, MDNR Trust Fund Resolution.
Tanya's here from Williams and Works too, if you have any questions.
Excellent.
Would you like me to explain a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, if you could do a 45-second rundown,
Yeah,
that'd
yeah.
be great.
So I just want to introduce myself. My colleague, obviously Brandon's here, and I have not yet had the opportunity to be in front of Village. So my name is Tanya de Oliveira. I am a planner and project manager with Williams and Works, and I worked on and led the grant application for the DNR Trust Fund grant last year, and I'm doing so this year. The trust fund grant is the exact same as Brandon had mentioned in terms of scope and in terms of like cost or budget and all the different items. So it's to repave the trail with a few other additional small things like a couple picnic benches and as well as updating the bridges. And we're trying to combine trust fund grant with the Michigan TAP grant, MDOT TAP grant. The major holdup, as Brandon mentioned, and just as a refresh, is because MDOT TAP grant gets federal funds, the Michigan tribes are allowed to say yes, no, or nothing about like letting a grant application go through, and they have said, we want to pause, and they don't need to tell us why. That's just their privilege as Michigan tribes. Because the TAP grant fund was not approved, and that was part of the match for the trust fund grant that was applied for last year. The trust fund group at the DNR said, we're just gonna pull your application. We're not even gonna tell you, like, vote on it, say yes or no. After conferring with Craig and Catherine, MDOT, DNR, Brandon, we decided that it would be very cost efficient to put in a trust fund grant application this year because we can just copy and paste from last year's. conferring with Brandon, the costs, like I said, are the same. And so the hope is, because MDOT TAP grant is still on pause, the tribes haven't said no, essentially this would have the DNR trust fund grant application, if it gets approved, which DNR loved the grant application last year. It was the highest scoring grant application had they were able to approve it through the whole state. If this way, if it gets approved and the TAP grant gets the, okay from the tribes, it would go forward. The village would have a little bit of the funds, and then as well as a lot of matching, from private agencies and other, letters of support from the community. So.
And this is about a $2 million project, and
Yeah.
we have support from surrounding communities. They've actually pledged financial support, the township, and a few other municipalities. It is, obviously, it's a beautiful resource that we have in the village. This just, basically, the long short of it is, this just gives permission for them to apply for the grant.
Let's try again, right?
Right.
Try again.
And we have the time on our side this time because this took a while to make last year, and we submitted it later in the summer, if I remember correctly. So we didn't really have a lot of time, and obviously with these pauses, January reset the clock.
Well, if I could, but just like last year, this is due by, what, April?
It's due April 1st.
April 1st. So we did submit, and we had submitted in February for the TAP grant. And they take applications 4 times during the year, once a quarter. It wasn't until very late in the game where we notified of the tribal situation. So that's what caught us kind of
And the
unexpected.
other thing is that the DNR has also said that on their side, a different pool of funds or whatever, or no, the MDOT has said, all of a sudden the tribes are starting to say, like, no, where for years before they've just said yes, like to projects around the state like this. So we don't know what's going on. The tribes don't have to tell us anything. That is their privilege. We would love to know. But, MDOT, the DNR and MDOT have both said this is a great project. MDOT's hands are tied at the moment, but the state is hungry for this if it were to get approved. So, the stars are shining really brightly, but we have to wait for everything to come together. We've also let the DNR and state or MDOT know that if they're, if as long as the village is okay with it, like we would be open to conversations to just see is there something that we can help facilitate. So, all that's just to say is we would love to help this project move forward, and in support of obviously with the village. So, MDOT, just let us know if you hear anything from the tribes, but yes.
So does MDOT have to reach out to the tribes?
They have,
So
and the tribes have said,
nothing.
they haven't said no, they haven't said yes. So essentially it's on a giant pause. So, in the meantime, we continue to politely and persistently let MDOT know that the village is still very much interested in this project. And same with DNR, we've kind of tried to have some offline conversations to see if, what we can do to help facilitate, and there's nothing of any consequence, good or bad yet. But we're trying to use our connections to help the state staff know that this isn't just another grant application being submitted. The village is very serious, and I mean, it's public safety, health, and welfare when it comes to the trail repaving, because we don't want people to be on a facility that's well-loved, but is in poor condition. So, not that it is now, but if, repairs don't happen and that kind of thing, so. So it's a resolution to approve the funding support, so that way, the trust fund grant application can be submitted before April 1st. So that's what the resolution is for.
I have a motion to approve.
We have a motion with support. Resolution 2603, authorizing the village to apply for state grants for the Paul Henry Trail Bridge replacement, including resurfacing and access enhancements for the portion owned by the village of Middleville, and authorize matching funds for the grants of up to $200,000 from the village general fund. Any further discussion?
I just have a couple comments.
Sure.
We knew 2 years ago, we asked Brandon, what the approximate cost would be, and it's this. So very good on your estimate 2 years ago. Secondly, I have a son that walks that Irving and back every day. Rain, ice, snow, it don't matter, he goes. He's constantly reminding me about the bridge that has quite a list to it, when it's really icy. I've walked down and looked at that, the railroad ties are so rotten on them, and big cracks where the retaining bolts and stuff go through, and it's past time for that to be fixed. So let's go.
Yeah, for sure. And I ran the plans by local cap and Anlon, actually, and they looked at it and they thought that we did have a good budget for the project. And that was just this past summer, so.
We have a motion with support. Any other further discussion or comments? All right. Roll call, please.
Patrick Hilton,
Yes.
Sandra Wake. Aye. Susan Shannon.
Aye.
Robert Bishop. John Osterban.
Aye.
Stephen Baldry.
Aye.
Kevin Smith.
Aye. Thank you.
Yes, and Rhonda, if I could get a copy of the draft minutes and resolution as soon as possible. Okay, thank you. So I can submit it in time.
Yep, you bet.
All right, moving on to council and staff reports. Mr. Powers.
Good evening. So I have a couple things here. So one, I want to acknowledge our recent staff update. So Caitlin Brown is now with us as the Community Development Coordinator. It's her second week officially in the role, and she was able to come here with us. Couple other things I'd like to mention too. So like related to the events, we do have in the application where the DDA does list whether or not there's food trucks or vendors participating. We don't typically know who those vendors are at that point because we want to make sure that we get council approval before engaging with vendors and determining the logistics. Related to TIF, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to talk about them. I do know that Jennifer Heinzman with the chamber is here as well. I'm sure that she loved talking about TIF too, but certainly if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to, address those, at any time. Otherwise, the ordinance 2146 is going before the planning commission on this next meeting. That was a discussion I've had recently with everyone here. There's decent amount of other updates. I already touched about the social district aspect. Certainly, I don't know if anyone has any specific questions, things you would like me to elaborate on. Just a little bit here. Be more than happy to address anything. Comments, questions, concerns related to planning, zoning, DDA, you name it.
Welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you.
Thank you.
Our email was in receipt. It was very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Mr. Ricker,
So,
how are you?
I'm pretty good. Sorry I missed you last month. I was in Canada skiing. So pretty much the same kind of stuff we're dealing with in code. I will say that the majority of things that I'm working on right now, where I'm seeing some progress. So that's a good sign. Some of it's pretty slow, but at least we're getting there. I did want to just address the two things that I put in my report last month regarding potential changes to ordinances. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at those, but first one involves snow removal. If you look at the snow removal ordinance, the second bullet point says that if you as a resident do not clear your sidewalks, the village is going to come and do it. Well, we've never come and done it. And we don't have the staff or the equipment to go do it. And so I think it would be tough to hold somebody accountable for clearing their walks because they could just say, well, the village is going to do it if I don't do it. So I was just going to suggest that we might want to consider changing shall to may. The village may come and clear your walks and charge you instead of we will do it. So that was one that was in my report last month. Anybody have any questions about that?
On a related point, we are trying to get equipment that can do that.
Yeah.
That might potentially support that ordinance.
Yes,
So
correct.
a lot of it has to do with, we just don't have the gear to,
Right,
because we have a big tractor rather than a more narrow, device that would easily clear that up. So
Yeah,
we have been in discussion of getting that.
Yeah.
But that is a good catch.
well, I think it's a manpower thing too.
Yeah,
I
and for
mean,
sure.
You know, if there are people who are gonna go, village is gonna do it, you know, that, I think that we might put the DPW in a situation that they're gonna be clear sidewalks all day.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, that's one thing to consider. Then the other one I put in the report last time has to do with the timeline to remove trash receptacles from the street. So we looked at the contract for Republic, and they actually can pick up, I think, Rhonda, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 o'clock, right? They can pick up till 6 o'clock, and the people have to have their garbage cans in by 7. If you work second shift, it's not possible. So I think that we ought to look at maybe adjusting that timeline. I mean, I'm not an advocate of you just get to leave your garbage can on the street, but 7 o'clock is unreasonable, I think. And so something that we probably should look at. I don't know what the solution is, maybe 24 hours after pickup, something like that. And then the one that I put on here today for tonight's meeting, there does seem to be a conflict in section 7825. So if you look at 25E, it refers to RV storage. And it talks about RVs not being able to be stored in the front yard or the front yard setback. Right underneath that, it says commercial vehicles may be stored in the front yard setback. I'm not, and then it refers to as defined in something else, section B. Well, that something else doesn't have a section B, it has section 2. And section 2 does nothing but define setback. So if you read the ordinance verbatim, it looks like I can put a commercial vehicle in my front yard. To me, and Mr. Powers and I talked about it at length. So I think it's hard to say, we don't want your camper in the front yard, but go ahead and put your commercial vehicle there, right? And in fact, there is one on my street right now, and there's not much I can do about it because of the way the ordinance reads. So just, those are 3 things that we ought to think about maybe shoring up, that at least that I've come across since I've been doing this, but everything else is just the commercial vehicle thing has been, okay, what do I do about this? Because I don't have an ordinance to back me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. So I don't know whether, when that was passed, it just didn't get updated correctly, or it didn't get typed correctly, or maybe there's a meaning that I'm not catching. So
a lot of our ordinances came from a templated ordinance book. That's, if you look up any ordinance, you could look up multiple municipalities in Michigan and they have the same book of ordinances, right? And I think that there is certainly attempts to make those ordinances better over time, but maybe not thorough. And that's no criticism of our current lawyer that does that.
Right.
But
Understood.
I think it's just been kind of hodgepodge, and a big complaint with people that sat in this seat before, that we have incomplete and in some cases messy ordinance book that does need help. So the fact that you just went through and found 3 isn't shocking, and certainly something that we should honor you
well, I know,
with that by doing something about it.
I just want to bring it to your attention because, you know,
because Lord knows we spent 3 years on ORVs.
Right,
So
right.
we should spend 10 minutes on maybe shoring up.
What is the process to shore that up?
Certainly have to take those ordinances, give them to our legal counsel, who will review them, and then offer after we approve that he can do that, then he gives us an option to upgrade it, and it goes through our review. Then we can either choose to adopt it or whatever. And I'm skipping a few things, but that's the long short of it. It's just it goes to him first.
So it starts with us, goes to him, comes
Yes,
back.
that's correct. 100%. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can add to, if there's any contention or comments or concerns related to an ordinance, the council has the ability to establish an ad hoc committee and evaluate that language further. But yeah, typically if it relates to zoning, the planning commission has an ordinance committee that reviews those items and other items, council seeks legal guidance or they establish a committee that evaluates it further.
Or we leverage what we just leveraged, and we have really good advice by the person who's got to be out there enforcing it. So we will definitely get that on an agenda to make
Yeah,
your
you
time.
can't have an ordinance that you can't,
enforce.
yeah, you can't enforce, and if you don't enforce it, then it doesn't exist. And then what else can you just say if that doesn't get enforced?
Right.
Right.
Well, we clearly have quite a bit of time on the snow thing, right? I mean, that's not.
Let's see.
Yeah. We hope anyway. So we kind of went from snow to junk. I mean, as soon as the snow melted, now we can see where it's junk. And so that's kind of I've been dealing with that a little bit too. But anyway, those are some things that the trash container, it's not a huge deal, but it is unreasonable to have it out by 7 o'clock. I mean, I'd love to see everybody do it, because the last thing you want to do is drive around and see my trash containers, but it's virtually impossible for some people. Yeah. So something we need to look at. Anyway, thank you.
I have a question. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the ordinance on vehicles in driveways,
Yeah,
if they have a legal plate,
yep,
a valid plate,
yep.
okay, but the whole front end of the vehicle is smashed in, they can leave that car along?
No, there's an ordinance about partially dismantled vehicles. I don't know exactly what it says, but you can't work on it and you're outside of an enclosed building for more than 10 calendar days, and I don't think it can be there for longer than 30.
What if it's just body damage? I mean, there's a.
Well, if it's body damage, it depends on whether the vehicle's operable, right? If it runs, our ordinance specifically says inoperable. So if it's smashed in, but you can move it forward or backward 3 feet, it's operable, right? So there's nothing that.
Well, there's a van sitting behind the firehouse.
I know, I'm on it.
You got the bottom hanging on
Yes,
the ground.
I'm on it. And the plate, that one has now an expired plate.
Oh, is it now?
Yes, so it is technically unlicensed.
Okay.
So believe me, we've gotten calls on that one. I'm working on it. We can't get a hold of anybody. So it probably is, I don't know what the next step is, but yes, I'm well aware. And there are a few of those sitting around, believe it or not. There's one actually on your street. And then there's another one on Oakview that is gonna be taken care of. So, the question is whether or not they're operable. Because it does, if it'll move, it's not inoperable, and the ordinance doesn't address that. The other thing that we might want to consider too, there's no ordinance on the book regarding parking in your front yard. A vehicle, an actual vehicle. And the number of people in the village that are using their yards, their front yards, not like a side yard, like a front yard as a driveway, it's
I
considerable.
thought we talked about that once, that there is. There's not.
There's a ground coverage ordinance if they ended up deteriorating the lawn to,
Right.
or if it caused erosion onto neighbors' property.
Yep, and so we've had at least one property in the village that simply covered their front lawn with mulch so that they could park on it.
Gravel.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
We
the
got one on our
ingenuity,
right.
right?
The ordinance does say you can't park in the right of way, right? So you could not put a vehicle, the right of way is generally between the sidewalk and the road, right? Not everybody has a sidewalk, so there's a right of way there. You're not supposed to park in the right of way. And then you're not supposed to park across the sidewalk, but there isn't anything that says you can't park in your front yard. So there are numerous occasions of that happening. So I don't know if that's something we want to consider too, but anyway.
Beverly Hills was a planned community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricker. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Wow, okay. Liaison, well, does anybody have any liaison reports? No? No. I don't either because we didn't have a quorum. So we hung out. It was fun to see all the,
We had a quorum for 17 minutes.
Yep, that was fair. And right when we were about to vote on things.
You voted on like 3 things.
Did we? I don't recall that. I know that we approved minutes and so on. I don't think it was anything.
Website
substantial.
refresh,
What's that?
website refresh.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, so that, which, if you read the email, We are talking to Pixelvine for a website refresh. They had a meeting today at 1. I apologize for not going there. I had a call at 1. But certainly that will be under review and Pixelvine has done other work for us in the past, and I think this refresh is really gonna be meaningful. I encourage, if you have the opportunity to discuss the website, please do, because it needs ideas and feedback from everybody. So I hear Caitlin can be a good resource for that. And certainly I look forward to the fruits of those efforts as well. I mean, that's all I'm gonna comment on is the website, because we didn't really do anything. No unfinished business. As for new business, I do want to, as part of our amended agenda, I would like to nominate myself to be a committee liaison for the TAPRC. I need to go through that process with all of you. They're doing wonderful things. They only meet quarterly, so we really do need to get some momentum back. Many, many years ago, and when I say many, it's been on since I've been on the council, the TAPRC brought forth a beautiful plan for an athletic center in the Sheridan Park area, which would really serve the east side of town. And we are in desperate need of really good ball diamond where the kids can not be playing baseball on an old dump, but actually in a really nice facility. The plan had a concession stand and bleachers and to expand and include other activities. And in a phased approach, I think over the course of, I'm just gonna say phases, we could really build a wonderful athletic center on that side of town and serve the people that live on the east side of town who otherwise have to go to the high school or wherever. So I am so curious and excited about being part of that because there was good work that was done, and I think that we just need to kick the tires and get that thing going back down the road again. And I would love to volunteer myself to do that. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and make the recommendation. If I could get a support, then we'll make this official. Excellent. We have a motion with support. Does anyone have any discussion points?
Build a pickleball court.
Amen, sir. Amen.
Not just one.
Yeah, multiple, right?
Because there's usually a line.
Yes, yes. We don't have to all go
Go to
to
Caledonia.
Caledonia to wait, right?
That's right.
The Greater Berrien Springs Rec Authority is looking at building 4 right now with us.
So obviously opportunity to move that forward. That's been, a pin was put into that project, unfortunately, and I think that was a huge disservice to this community, so I
Is
think
there a location in mind?
Sheridan Park,
I don't even know where that is.
east of town, as you're heading out towards the wastewater treatment plant.
By cemetery.
Right. Okay, we have a motion with support, voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Congratulations. In your packet, just want you to review that for boards and commissions. It looks like, and certainly please review the packet that Alan Edwin gave regarding that TIF, Berry County Directory, and that might have been personal mail to me. But I think everybody got one. Oh, actually, everybody got one. Okay, so, and also the DDA revenue and expenditures report from March 5th is in there as well. Leaving us with public comment, limit of 3 minutes per speaker is in effect. Any persons attending may comment on any subject. Please state your name and direct your comments to the chair. The Village of Middleville rules of procedure prohibit the village council from debating or discussing issues with the public.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lori Mar and I'm the finance director
and treasurer for the village of Middleville. I only have one comment about your explanation for the TIF. The taxes, if the TIF gets approved, that we're not gonna get, has nothing to do with water and sewer. Our taxes paid for operational, in the village, roads, parks, sidewalks. So if that gets approved, water and sewer is gonna get paid anyway, so if they have any issues, we're gonna be able to pay. Water and sewer are enterprise funds, so they attend for themselves. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
It's not nearly as dramatic now, but it is factual.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gormar, for that. All right, and this is the time when you can speak your mind at the end of our meeting. So I will start down here with Mr.
When do you expect us to revisit the TIF discussion as a board?
I mean, in my personal opinion, it took me years to understand it to the degree where I even misquoted the sewer portion of it. But, you know, given 4 weeks maybe where we can bring this back to the board to vote on it, or sooner if you feel comfortable, and that's certainly an email. I'm an email away if you want to just say, look, I think I understand this. Please, let's move forward with that. Per your recommendation, I'll certainly add that to the agenda. But I just want to make sure that you are not just blindly voting on something that has tremendous financial impact in our community and maybe not for the best reason. And I just want you to weigh that. Might be the best reason ever. And then once you understand the process, then you love it and you want to vote for it. But I really do believe that spending a fair amount of time understanding what it is and how that is going to impact taxpayers in this community and what their responsibilities are when that gets passed, if it does get passed.
It doesn't appear that that parcel has been listed for sale for all that long. I mean, it was on and then it came off the market, and it went on and came off the market. Now there's a sale pending, I presume, depending on how this is ruled.
It's obvious they have experts in the field. Very, very keen eye to opportunity, and that certainly is an opportune piece of land for sure. So, but again, I think it's something that once you're comfortable with it, if you're all comfortable with it, you just give me a nod in an email saying, I think I'm ready to make an informed decision on this. Send me an email, I'll add it to the agenda, but I do want to make sure that you take the time and ask Doug and Gormar and Craig. These are great resources. They understand the process. And
Yeah, when I came here and I saw it struck out, I felt a whole lot better because I basically tried to put a fire hose in my mouth and turn it on to understand it as best I could.
Right.
So I'm glad we put it off. And I will also call, I did get a chance, as I'm reading the letters, right? They all say they're in favor of it being built, which I think on its face, I would say I'm in favor of homes being built all the time. I don't think I've read in any of those letters that they're in favor of necessarily the TIF portion of that, right? So I think that's something, if you're reading that, you know, I think read the letter for what it says and not necessarily place it in the same discussion as the TIF, because I think those two things are separate. I think everybody would want the community to grow, to get the tax base to grow. I don't think it went as far as to say it supported the TIF. So, agree.
thank you for that. Anything else? So, two.
There are a lot of, there's a development right behind me that still has a lot of lots available that have not been sold. They're building swiftly now compared to decade prior. So I mean, the space is already there, property that is developed and ready to go, so.
Hi, your turn.
I have nothing to say tonight.
All right, very good.
Same with me, I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Baldry.
Few things to the new members of the council. I would say anytime you don't understand anything, raise your hand and say, I don't understand it, I don't want to vote on it, or whatever. Would much rather have someone do that than to blindly vote on something, especially this tip. We've been through this now a few years. And for myself, it took a lot of research on my own part and went to some seminars and that type of thing. 5-6 weeks ago, I said, we need a work session on this, and Edwin, they came, and there was about 4 of us there or something like that. In late in 2023, state passed where the brownfield could also be used for homes instead of just blighted property. Well, that just opened this magic. I have a thought from builders that says, okay, we can build X amount of houses, we'll put a few in there for rent, and we'll finance everything with a tip. Well, that's okay, but we have quite a few residents in Middleville who might want to see some tax money out that in 15, 20 years. So to me, it's a really slippery slope to start going down.
We have a lot of developments going up in the area.
Sure, when one guy gets it, they'll stand in line after that. If it would have been 25 homes that were gonna be up for rent, at a reasonable rent, charge,
4 out of 25.
then it might have been something a little bit more to think about. But, so I just use this for an example, but anytime you don't understand, raise your hand. And just say, yep, say, I don't want to vote on this.
So the mid-villa apartments, how were they financed? I mean, there was some kind of a tax incentive given. How was that different?
So this is the interesting thing, adding the TIF as part of the brownfield. I mean, this law was put in place to incent people to build in specific areas,
And hard
for
to
instance.
develop areas.
Right, so
This
for
is
instance,
not
the
one of
Baby
those.
Bliss would be a perfect example of, we would really like somebody to come here and build a beautiful building on that land. But they added to that because of the affordable housing crisis. They really added to this, hey, we really want to meet the missing middle. There's just complete absence of home building in that space. And when you look at the number of homes that have been built in Middleville in the last, I mean, I've watched a beautiful field fill up with houses since I've lived here, and none of them are affordable to anybody that's just starting off. I mean, they're $400,000, $380,000, $400,000 homes after taxes and mortgage. You're paying for $4,500 a month to live in a home in Middleville. While that's really great, and it certainly attracts a certain audience,
Yeah.
it's not meeting the missing middle by just simply building those homes and then renting them for $1,000 a month less. And as I brought up the last time we had this conversation, what you end up with is a rental unit with 7 people living in it and 7 cars parking in their front yard, and it becomes untenable for us to, I mean, how do you enforce ordinances that are meant to create a level playing field for everybody that purchases their home, that wants to retain their property values? Meanwhile, you have a lot of people who are moving in just to afford to live there. They have to have 4, 5, 6 roommates. I find that to be fine, but the TIF program is meant to meet the missing middle. And when we have this apartment complex opportunity, that's 140 units where the rent is right around $2,000 a month. If I were a missing middle income earner, that would be a prime place to call Middleville a home at a reasonable rate, not $4,000 a month, but $2,000, which does hit the demographic of where we want to attract workers for Bradford White, where we want to bring in teachers, where we want to bring in fire and EMS staff. That's the missing middle, where where we're just not serving that. So that project took advantage of the exact same program. But meanwhile, we also got a lift station out of it and a lot of other amenities attached to that, because they came to the table and said, okay, well, we're gonna get this, but we'll build the lift station, we'll put it up, we're gonna build it to your specs, not their own. And so they negotiated through that whole process. Not just on the promise of building 25 homes, and we may not build here because if we can't get $4 million in tax breaks, we may just move on down the line. They pressed in and really wanted to put those units in place because it made sense, and it certainly made sense for our community to have that on a piece of land that clearly was vacant for a long time, just like that, the one that Ellen Edmonds is looking at. So it's the same program. It's the same program. Now, the beautiful thing about the TIP program is that as a council, we can point and aim that tool at any project that qualifies for it. And there are other projects in the pipeline where that TIP would apply and it would meet the missing middle, not anecdotally, but directly.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's like, for something like this, it should kind of live inside even the master plan, right? So I started looking at the master plan to see like, where does rural housing fit into this? And it to me, didn't seem like we were giving a benefit to something that we were missing in Middleville, which is what I would assume something like this is for. Like, if it's going to give a tax break, then it should give a service to the people that are continuing to pay taxes, right? And so there has to be something that the tax base is getting for the gift of the TIF. So
But I looked at like the TIF for the apartment building, it's 140 units, let's average 2 people a unit. That's 280 people that need gas, their car's worth 10, the dentist, groceries, all the goods and services Middleville has to work. Often. On top of that, the storage units they're gonna build will be taxed. We will collect tax from that, plus the commercial lots that they're selling. So yes, we gave them the tip on the units themselves, but I think the influx of cash that come into our community from it
Made it work.
outweighed it. But
and it was balanced out by 3 additional commercial properties in the front that have yet to be realized, but are certainly under construction. So we will be collecting taxes on that, on those properties. So it makes
Except
up
for daycare too, right?
Yeah.
That part of it.
yeah, the daycare's, kind
It's separate.
Was that also a 30-year plan?
No, that's direct. They build the properties, they'll build them out, we'll get the tax roll, and it'll be smack dab in the middle of our DDA district, so it is a huge win for Middleville. And, we horse traded an apartment complex to get 3 really solid tax roll properties that are gonna bring a lot of value to the community, so.
Yeah, the apartments.
She was talking about the apartments.
That's that 30-year.
Actually 15, if I'm not mistaken, so 15 with the option to add 5, I think it was.
The county gets the last 5.
Yes,
Kevin,
yeah.
I'm wondering, is that maybe we need to have as much as I don't want to have more meetings on our schedule, or maybe we need to have another, bunch of new people, we're doing it now, but it's fine too, what it is. Maybe we need to have another workshop with them and just have more than 4 people here, and just, I wouldn't mind it. I will learn a lot, but I'm still not.
I'm open to meet with anyone individually too, and certainly after everyone's familiar with this, if this is something you could.
I probably benefit from being at the food as much as
Yeah, but we have to do it in open meetings.
I think there's a workshop, we could do a workshop, we could probably add more to the agenda than just the tip, but it would be nice to have a SME come in and maybe we revisit the township and have like a priority session like we have had in the past and just see where we've been in the past and how we are working closer together, and I would think that would be really fruitful. I always enjoy those meetings because we vet out a lot of really good ideas in that space.
We can discuss hanging out with the manager on Monday.
Sure. Doug's like, I'm gonna nod and move on. Time to move on. Well, look, I mean, first of all, Sandra, Susan, and Pat, thank you so much for your time and for joining the board, and I hope that you found it exhilarating on your first day. We've covered a lot of stuff today, and we still had a great topic that really shows how important some of the decisions that are brought before us are, and certainly we're never obligated to immediately just vote blindly on things. I really feel compelled to make sure that everybody feels really comfortable saying, you know what, I'm not really comfortable, and if there's consensus, then I would rather not vote on it like this. So welcome, and thank you for your service. Caitlin, thank you. Thank you for everybody that joined tonight in the audience. And with that, I believe the motion is in order.
Make a motion, we adjourn with a quick thank you to Rhonda for everything.
Of course.
Always.
We have a motion with support. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Who supported it this time?
We meet Michelle was on the flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it didn't send you, because my calendar